Welcome to the Love and All Sports Podcast, where the land of love can get updates on not only Loveland sports, but learn and discuss many sports topics. Shoot any ideas you want to loveandallsports@gmail.com. Be sure to follow us on Facebook at the Love and All Sports Pod. Loveland All Sports is sponsored by Meredith DeWitt of Brittany Fritch Realty, Loveland's #1 boutique brokerage. Contact Meredith for any and all of your real estate needs at meredithbfteam@gmail.com. This episode was great, for we talked with Loveland Legend head wrestling coach Chris Switzer. He's a fourth-generation Lovelandite, and he said in high school that he wanted to teach and coach wrestling at LHS. His success is immeasurable, not just on the mat, but in the classroom and around the community. He is instrumental in starting our girls wrestling program that is having success, but it's also a benchmark for one of the fastest-growing high school sports in girls wrestling. So please enjoy this episode. Well, good afternoon. We're sitting here on a Thursday afternoon getting to know our Loveland High School boys and girls wrestling coach, Coach Chris Switzer. Welcome, Coach.
Thank you.
Oh, you got some of your players here checking you out, wanting to know what's going on. But yeah, this is it's great. I've known you for a handful of years and know you're from Loveland and went to Loveland and coach and teach at Loveland. Why don't you talk a little bit about that background?
Sure. Yeah, I was born and raised in Loveland, as was my parents and my grandparents before that. So we're about 4 generations deep into Loveland.
Nice.
I did live away from Loveland for about 10 years. I missed it the entire time, and then was able to make the move back when my kids were old enough as they were entering into junior high school. So it's exciting to be here. Always wanted to be a teacher at Loveland. Always wanted to be the wrestling coach. I mean, that was my senior quote when I was in high school is, what are you going to do? I said, I'm going to get my teaching degree, be a history teacher, and take over the Loveland wrestling program. So
I read that in an article from a while ago. It said, while still at Loveland High School, you were asked what you wanted to do after college, and you said, my response was teach history at Loveland High School and be the head wrestling coach.
Right.
So you had goals, and you can check that off the box.
There you go.
It's awesome. Well, let me make you blush a little bit. You know, Coach is a big guy and whatnot, but let me just read off a few things I found. Coach was a 4-time district qualifier, 2-time district champion, 2-time state qualifier, 4-time finalist, 3-time Cincinnati Hills League champion with a record of 110, 20, and 1. 93 and 94, he was selected first team in Cincinnati. Went on to wrestle at Mount St. Joe's, where he was a 4-time national qualifier, 2-time academic All-American. And that's all great, but one question, how long do you think he could last on the mat today?
Oh my gosh, well, not as long as back then. Obviously, I love wrestling, and you get to a point where you're like, can I still do it? I've had an ACL replacement in 2014, and then in the last 5 years, I've had both my hips replaced.
Okay.
So I don't think I would last very long, just because I just don't move like I did. I miss it, but you kind of know as a coach, like when it's time to sort of not wrestle with the kids anymore. It's been hard, but obviously I think it's made me a better coach, is I can sit back and make adjustments and see kids and not just pushing them and wrestling them and making those adjustments. So it's caused me to be a little bit different coach, not being able to put hands on. Yeah. I still do a little bit every once in a while, but I know my limits.
Well, it's always better to teach someone than to show them.
Right.
I mean, that's part of it. I get that, but it's so much easier if you can talk them through it.
Right.
Kind of like a golf swing if we're doing a golf lesson.
Sure.
It works out better that way. So how long have you been teaching?
This is 27 years, my 27th year of teaching, my 26th at Loveland.
Okay.
So I did 1 year at Little Miami, and as soon as I came out of college, there was a possible opening at Loveland. I interviewed, and they decided not to replace it. And I was crushed because I really wanted to come back to Loveland. I knew that's where I wanted to be. I had such a positive experience here. Loved the faculty, loved the culture, and loved the tradition of the Loveland wrestling program, which I wanted to be part of. And I went to Little Miami, had a great experience. Your first year of teaching, you make a lot of mistakes. So I'm glad I made them over there, made me a better teacher. So
That's true.
Felt like I had a little bit of a little better perspective when I came to Loveland. So this is, just been great teaching here. I enjoy the people in the community.
Awesome. And then coaching, you started coaching ever since?
Yes, I did. Yeah. So as soon as I came out of college, when you barely could scrape by on not making a decent salary,
right.
I coached everything I could get my hands on just to help supplement it. I used to coach football. I played football my whole life. I coached football here at Loveland for the first few years before I took over the program. I love football. I really miss it, but yeah. I also have a wife, and my wife said, you got to make a decision. I need to see you at least a little bit during the school year. So I went to wrestling. But I think as soon as I became the head coach, it's very time consuming, but I love it. And I've always said I'll do it until I don't have the passion for it or until I feel like I'm not moving the program forward. So I'm always constantly reevaluating each year and try to surround myself with good coaches, which I'm very blessed with right now.
Awesome. So you played some football growing up?
Absolutely.
Did you play other sports?
I played baseball, played a little bit of basketball. And then when I was in middle school, I wrestled 1 year when I was in 6th grade, and I had a decent experience. I wrestled in 7th grade, and I was a little undersized, hadn't hit puberty yet, and I was getting decked pretty hard in the wrestling room. And my 8th grade year said, I'm done with wrestling. I'm going to go try out for basketball. And my high school coach, Mike Rich, who I look up, see him as a mentor, saw me going to a tryout practice and grabbed me and told me to go get my wrestling shoes. And I've never looked back since then. So, yeah, I was right on that edge. So I thank him. He was such a good mentor, and being able to coach under him and be an athlete under him, he was just a great motivator. So.
Oh, that's awesome. I didn't realize that. Well, what's pretty cool, I always love when chapters of people's lives collide. And my high school football coach, who's probably the biggest mentor in my life, is a guy named Ron Corradini. Yeah. And he coached at Sycamore. He coached all over in colleges. And then when he was done at Sycamore, he went to go coach at Mount St. Joe.
That's right.
And little did I know that Coach Switzer wrestled at Mount St. Joe. And Coach Corradini was also the wrestling coach.
That's right.
So like it wasn't that long ago, I go up to Coach Corradini's 80th birthday party, and here comes Coach Switzer. And we're like, dude, how do you know Coach? And how do you know Coach? So it was such a small world being at the same party for Coach Corradini, and I just thought that was pretty cool. So you said in high school you wanted to be a coach, but how did you get started? Well, you talked about Little Miami, but did you just jump right in after college and you were the varsity coach at Little Miami?
No.
Did you have to?
I didn't. I went there, and they had already had a coach there. Had been there for a few years, and I started off coaching football, and naturally I was looking for another. Like wrestling was always my first love when coming out of college, and then I got the opportunity to be an assistant coach there under Ronnie Edwards, who's now coaching at Goshen. Another great guy. Enjoyed the time there and had that opportunity. I even coached girls track, which I never did track before in my life. And I was lucky enough to I coached the girls shot and disc. I had a girl who could throw like 48 feet, so it was pretty easy. I mean, I couldn't even throw that far. Showed me more than, I think I learned more from her than she ever learned from me. But then obviously the opportunity came up at Loveland, and I was an assistant under Mike Rich, which was incredible experience. Being my high school coach, I looked up to him so much, and if you know Mike, he was such a good motivator, and I think really helped establish the Loveland program. And I thought it was an honor when he stepped aside to be able to step in that role and continue that tradition.
And how long ago was that?
That was 2001 was my first year, or 2002 was my first year.
Okay.
So I've been the head coach for, this is my 23rd year.
Okay.
So.
Great. Well, just naturally, we've talked a lot about Coach Switzer here, and the first thing he always wants to talk about is his wrestlers, which is great. But before we get there, let's talk about the home life. You tell the community about your wife and your kids.
Sure. I've been married to my wife for 26 years. We were high school sweethearts.
Nice.
I would say I went to Loveland, graduated from Loveland in '94. My wife went to Ursuline, which was probably the reason it worked. She didn't have to see me every day, see how I acted at school. That was pretty honoring. And after that, we dated through college, got married in 1999.
Okay.
Had our first kid, Grant, my oldest, is graduated from Loveland. He's about to get his degree in aerospace engineering. And my daughter is at Miami University. She's going to get a degree in botany. And then my youngest son is currently a junior. So
that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So what's your favorite part of coaching wrestling?
I think my favorite part is, building those lasting relationships. It's not always about the best kid. It's easy when you got kids that are naturally talented. You have high expectations, and they're easy. It's the ones that probably need wrestling more than wrestling needs them. Mm-hmm. Kids that come from difficult situations, being a mentor, being a positive influence in their life, letting them be part of something that is bigger than themselves, to have a place where they have a little bit of stability, have a place where they can learn to meet goals and set goals. To me, I think that's been probably the most rewarding things.
Yeah, that's great. What about what's fun? What's fun about it?
What's fun about coaching?
Yeah.
I think probably having kids meet their goals. I have high expectations. I always have with our program. I always tell our kids, it doesn't matter how you did during the normal year. The last 4 weeks of the season, to me, is where the rubber meets the road.
Yeah.
So how you do at league, how you do at sectionals and district and state. I go back and I can look back and tell you every one of my state qualifiers because it was just as exciting for them as it was for me to be able to get them there to state and help them push them along the way. And having the opportunity to coach a few state champions, that's been a pretty cool experience. Right. And getting kids to place, getting kids that you didn't expect to get to state get there. And those are the things that I'll always remember the most.
Yeah, that's really cool. I mean, I was always I was a football guy first, and then baseball second, and then basketball. But I always wished I would have somehow got into wrestling like in middle school or whatnot, because the emotion of the sport is what just attracts me to it. It's just I never did it. My boys never did it. But you sit there and watch how much it takes, and people talk about how great of an athlete you have to be a basketball player, which is true.
Right.
But wrestlers and swimmers got them, I think.
You're out there by yourself. I always tell my all my wrestlers, like, there's no shortcuts to success. Like, if you don't give 100%, you're going to get exposed, and there's no one to hide behind. Yeah. There's no one making a penalty. There's no one that's dogging it. You can't hide. Right. So it's like, I think that's why I was drawn to wrestling is can't make excuses.
Yeah.
Go out and you perform.
Everyone's watching you. Yeah. So that's great. Thanks for sharing all that, Coach. All right, so let's take a little break here and talk. You're entering what I call Josh's smoking seat.
All right.
I'm going to rattle off 10 easy questions, and you just whatever comes from the heart.
Okay.
Being a Cincinnati guy, this will be fun. So Skyline or Gold Star?
Oh my gosh, I'm kind of split. If it's Coney's, I go Gold Star. If it's a three-way or a four-way, it's Skyline.
So why?
I don't know. I've always liked Gold Star's chili dogs. I don't know what it is.
That's great.
Difference. Yeah.
That's a great answer. LeBron or Jordan?
Jordan.
Did you stay on the Bengals bus for the 31 years of no playoff wins?
I've always been true to my home teams, whether it's the Red or the Bengals. So it's sometimes painful to watch them, but I think I stayed true. I've been loyal to our local teams.
Okay. And then back to the Skyline. Is a hot dog a sandwich?
Is a hot dog a sandwich? Well, that's a tough one. No.
All right, good. And should Pete Rose be in the Hall of Fame?
Absolutely.
All right. What's your first concert?
First concert, Def Leppard.
Oh, that's a good one. And this is one of my favorites. When you eat cereal, do you put the milk in the bowl first or the cereal first?
Cereal first.
All right. I'm going to find somebody that says milk because that's the only way to eat it, if you ask me. When you do a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, do you put peanut butter on one piece of bread or on both pieces of bread?
I put it on one.
All right. If money's no object, what sporting event would you like to attend?
This is funny. I say I love local sports, but I hate to admit this, but my favorite college football team is the Miami Hurricanes.
Really?
And I want to go see that rivalry game with Florida State, so that would be it, to go experience that rivalry and the energy you'd say that game.
Is that because of the early 90s?
I was a bandwagon fan in like the 89 when they won a national title, and that's been tough too. It's almost like the Bengals. They've had a poor run, but I've stayed true. I get frustrated every Saturday when they lose a game they should win.
Right.
But yeah.
The 30 for 30s on the U.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it was incredible.
Amazing.
It was easy to be a fan back then. It's a little harder today.
And I sit there and watch those with my boys, and I played college football in Indiana. I'm all proud of that, whatever. And you watch that, and it's at the same time. I'm like telling my boys, I'm like, dude, we looked up to them. Yeah. They were the same guys, same age, same field, different conference, but it was like they were on a different level.
So,
that's cool. So back to the wrestling. What's your most memorable match that you've coached?
Most memorable match. You think I would probably say one of my state championship matches, but I think probably one of my most memorable matches was one of my wrestlers back in 2013 by the name of Kylie Nab, who was up and down, got injured his junior year, made it to state, and won his placement round. And it was just a full circle type of moment. He was one of those guys that had a little bit of a hothead, and I watched him mature that year and keep things in perspective and be level-headed. And I think not only was I proud of him placing, but watching him grow, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That to me really stood out. Probably made me cry, like that kid really came a long way. I was super proud of that.
That's awesome. What, if you have a coaching moment that you could do over, do you have one of those?
Probably throwing a chair.
Did you really?
Yeah. Well, throwing chairs, breaking clipboards, When I first started out, like when you're young, my kids all know this, my wife knows this, I'm super competitive. I hate losing at anything. And when I was younger in those early years, my coaches would not let me hold clipboards. I would snap them.
Yep.
I would throw pens. I'd break pencils and pens. So for the longest time, I've not been allowed to touch anything. I've settled down quite a bit. But we were wrestling a heated duel at Glen Estee, I believe, probably maybe 10 years ago. And things were going sideways, and the refereeing was not very good.
Right.
One of our kids was in danger, and I picked up a chair and threw it. And
during the match?
During the match.
Oh, yeah.
I haven't been thrown out, but I did get it unsportsmanlike. But yeah, so, I mean, that's just part of being young, being a younger coach. Right. But you got to learn that winning's not always the goal, so.
Right. Oh, that's great. Yeah, it's one thing to break the chair in the locker room afterwards, but to break it during the match, that's awesome.
Oh my gosh, I got a lot of bad things, kicking doors. I mean, I've settled down quite a bit.
Yeah. I broke a clipboard one time over like 5th grade girls youth basketball for my daughter Zoe, and I broke it on the sideline, and the broken piece like flew all the way onto the court. And I had to like run out and get it.
Then you sit back and you think, wow, what was I thinking?
That was so dumb. Well, what's your favorite sports movie?
Oh my gosh. Well, I have to go with a wrestling movie.
Oh yeah.
Vision Quest.
Quest.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm trying to get Charlie to watch that because it is so good.
Yeah, I love it. It's got a great soundtrack.
The soundtrack is
incredible.
Awesome. It's a very good one. Should have known you would answer that. What's the best athlete that you've ever coached?
Oh gosh.
You can name a couple. I know it's going to be tough because you've had some success and we've had some athletes here.
Athletically, probably Gunnar Gamble, 2014. Michael Weber was another one from that, played football and wrestled. Just freak athletes. Kylie Nabb would be up there. I'd put him up there. Just incredible athletes. Like, didn't matter if they were wrestling, you take them in the gym and play basketball. Right. They could have made the basketball team. They were just really athletic.
What about any that you coached against, any that have gone on to college or the Olympics?
Oh, that's a good one. I'd have to think about that one. Gosh, we've wrestled so many great kids.
Right.
Gosh, there's been a number of kids that we've wrestled. When we used to go to Brecksville, and we used to wrestle up north, there was kids that went on to college, national champs, I'm trying to think of one that would really stick out. I don't know. I don't have an answer.
Yeah. No problem. I stumped you. That's awesome.
You got me.
Well, bucket list activity, you already answered about the Miami-Florida State game, but what about bucket list with coaching wrestling? Is there anything that's still, you're 23 years of coaching, state champs, is there a bucket list item that pertains to wrestling?
I think, so to me, like, I right now I'm like, I think I'm 4 matches away from my 300 to win.
Okay.
To me, like, I feel like I've got about 6 or 7, maybe 8 years left. I'd love to get to 400 dual wins. Like, to me personally, it's just a kind of a thing to be able to reach that eclipse, and that would be one.
Awesome, that's good. What's one thing that you wish Loveland had?
Had a bigger wrestling room.
Yep.
Yeah,
exactly.
Definitely.
Well, you got mats like a few years ago.
We certainly have mats.
Right? You did get new mats.
We did get new mats.
It was like the old ones were like, are you kidding me?
Yeah. We get so much support from the boosters to the athletic department.
Right.
We're really good, but the wrestling room that we have now, I think 94 was the first year I was in there. Right. And I think there was we might have had 22 people on the team. I'm pushing 35, 40, sometimes 45 kids on the team.
And that includes girls?
Including girls too,
Right.
I've had teams that have been close to 50 over the years. It's pretty crowded. So it'd be nice to have a facility that would accommodate both boys and girls in a little bit more comfortable manner. And, our youth program, which I feel is like the lifeline into us having success. I mean, we have to go 2 separate facilities because we have so many kids interested. It'd be nice to have a facility that was large enough to house everyone. So that would be the dream.
Good. Let's talk a little bit about the girls' success because I think it's absolutely awesome. My daughter, who's she graduated in 20, so 4 or 5 years ago she graduated. I wish that, and I've talked to her about it. I think she would have been a great sport for her to be involved with, and I love girls sports and what the state of Ohio, what you've done, what the ECC's done to make this a sanctioned sport is pretty powerful. So talk a little bit about that.
Sure. So the girls program has been, and to see girls wrestling grow in the last 6 years has been unbelievable. Initially, it started out with kind of as a small idea where the State Coaches Association decided to host a state tournament for the girls, not sanctioned by the OHSAA. And first year, small. Second year, it doubled. And then, of course, when it was sanctioned 3 years ago, the numbers have doubled and tripled.
Yeah.
So I believe, don't quote me, but it's one of the fastest growing sports in the country.
Yeah, it's got to be.
It's growing. And certainly when the OHSA started to sanction it, obviously I have Elizabeth Madison, who's just an incredible wrestler. I've been able to watch her progress ever since she's been in second grade. When she was in youth, my son and her are the same age, and had them wrestle each other. And once it got, and to see her have the success of wrestling against boys, I was like, wow, it's time to start a girls program.
Nice.
So we started off the first year. I had, with the exception of Elizabeth, I had 5 other girls that had never wrestled before. 2 of them had never done a sport before, and they were incredible. And I found out very quickly the girls listen better.
Oh, yeah.
They're a little bit more social. I think sometimes kids get scared of Coach Switzer.
Right.
Girls could care less. They're
Right.
just hey, how you doing? It's so that was a little bit of an adjustment.
Right.
And,
How do you motivate them?
And I'll be honest, it is such a relief sometimes. We have the boys tournaments. I feel like sometimes we're in a pressure cooker with when our guys ask the success. And I'm not saying that I don't want success for the girls, but I found it when I went with the girls, it's just a different attitude. Yes, they want to be successful, but it's not.
Yeah.
It's not win, and they're very social. And honestly, it was kind of to go wrestle Friday, Saturday, and then go on a Sunday. I enjoyed it. It was a fun time, and to watch them grow, and to listen, and to see them make the progressions they made in that short period of time are pretty amazing.
Yeah,
So
that's great. Well, thanks for doing that. And you told me before that there's 8 of the 10 ECC schools have girls.
Yeah,
wrestling?
that's right. So last year, since we host the ECC JV tournament and the varsity on Friday and Saturday, as the OHSA sanctioned it, I think the next natural extension would be to have the league recognize it as a sanctioned sport as we do other sports. Last year, I think we had 6 of the girls' teams that participated. I think we had around roughly 30 wrestlers. This year, we're up to 8 out of the 6 schools have girls. And I think the last time I checked the count, there was 51 girls. So not quite double, but obviously it's trending in the right way. Hopefully other coaches are going to have the resources or want to promote girls wrestling. It's tough. It's such an early stage, where a lot of coaches are both the boys and girls coach. I'm not the exception. That's the norm.
Right.
So,
Right.
It's time consuming because you're going to tournaments on Friday, Saturday, and then the girls are more on Sunday. So it's a lot of time. So I think some coaches struggle with trying to find that balance, but I can only see it growing, and I hope a couple other schools in our league continue to promote girls wrestling. And before you know it, hopefully it'll be an official ECC sport.
Awesome. So let's talk a little bit about do you have a coaching philosophy, or when you sit down to plan out the year, what are your thoughts on a philosophy?
I feel like our guys, what you put into it is what you're going to get out of it. I know that's a pretty generic little thing to say, but I think we train pretty much year round, and our guys know what it takes to be successful. All you got to do is look around. There's a lot of good wrestling in Cincinnati. You look at a program like a Moeller, LaSalle, or a Springboro. You got to do it year round. You got to go out and find the mat opportunity. It's very rare that you have somebody that just turns it on when winter season comes around. You see kids wrestling year round. That's how you get to that success. So I certainly encourage our guys to find opportunities to get better and to get some mat time. And then from there, you kind of set your goals. I'm blessed with a lot of good wrestlers this year. I've got some really good talent. And it goes back to the fact that I just told our kids this today. Here we are in the last 4 weeks of their season. We started doing this last spring. Mm-hmm. As soon as last season was over, we were training for freestyle and Greco. Then we went on a trip. We trained out through the summer. We trained during the fall. And this is where we meet our goals.
Right.
So,
Right.
you got to put in the time.
What about like 2025 team goals, like or individual goals? Do you, before each season, do you say, I want to get this many people to win the ECC or to make it to state, or is it different each year?
I think every year I've always had that philosophy that I feel like we've got a good enough program that we're always going to be in contention for a league title. So that's certainly the goal. We say that right out the bat. Getting our wrestlers to state, I'm realistic about it. There's a lot of talented wrestlers in Cincinnati. It's very difficult at the Division I level to be that top 4 to make it to state, and we got to train for it. So, I tell our guys over and over, there's no shortcut to success. If you want to be good at this sport, you have to put in the time. You got to put in the effort. Yeah. And I know we've had guys that have bought in. Like I'm really proud of my senior class. They've accomplished a lot.
Good. And you mentioned it before, and I know a lot about it, but I want you to talk about the summer trip to Colorado.
Yeah,
talk a little bit about that.
Sure. So one of my assistant coaches moved from the Colorado area and happened to be coaching in the Loveland, Colorado area. And so he had contact with all the coaches in that area. And we just started joking around. And I was like, you know what? How great would it be to throw something together and wrestle the Loveland, Colorado team and find other things to do in the area? And being so close to Colorado Springs where the athletes train there, said, man, we can make it a trip. And my wife and I love to travel, and we kind of know how to be cheap about it and throw some camping in there.
Right.
So you're not always staying in a hotel. And I just said, let's do it. And I sat down with my wife and we started planning a trip and sort of figuring out some things where we were going to stay. And before you know it, we're in Colorado Springs. So it was just an incredible thing that happened. And my coaches went and supported it. And we did a lot of fundraising to make it affordable for anybody that wanted to go. And I believe we ended up taking 16 wrestlers and 5 coaches. And I really felt it set the tone. Not only did we get to wrestle against the Loveland team in a duel at Loveland High School, which was kind of surreal. Right. We also went to Northern Colorado wrestling team camp, and it was duels. And I think we went 11-1. Yeah. And I saw our kids grow up and bond, just being together and kind of establish like this. Not a knock on Colorado wrestling, but Ohio's are very physical, in your face, and I think we gave more bloody noses and not cheap shots or anything. Like we just pushed the pace. Yeah. I'm like, man, I feel like we've got this break you style, like we broke kids, and it was good. And that we've been trying to carry that momentum over from the summer, and I think it's translated well. Like we've had a really good dual season this year. Good.
Yeah, I remember when you came back from that trip, I remember talking to you about that it really proved that we have some awesome wrestling in Southwest Ohio. Right. And it's hard for a kid to believe that, or a parent even to see it, but when you're able to prove it because you went to Colorado, which is a pretty big state, and you think about how good they could be and everything else, and not in wrestling, maybe skiing. But that's about it. Right. And just the team bonding. That's I think the coolest part. Just like from college, and I know from college, it's not so much about the wins, losses, or the XOs, but when you're sitting there going, man, I sat in the car with this kid on a 17-hour drive. Yeah. He's my buddy now. I need to do this for him, not so much for anybody else.
And it certainly did that because I see some of my older guys, and I tried to take a mix of. I took a couple upcoming middle school kids. And, a couple freshmen, a couple sophomore, a couple junior, and they kind of built that bond. So when they see each other, that's the kind of stuff that you want to see happen.
Yeah, the 8th grader wants to be that guy in junior, senior year.
And the other thing is I was able to take some kids on the trip that maybe that might have been the only time in their life they got to go. Or, I had kids that never traveled before. I had kids that never camped before. Yeah. I mean, we camped half the trip, and they're like, and I mean, we go to a campground, throw up our tents, and did it kind of like a little assembly line of food and stuff like that, eating out of boxes and cooking stuff on grills. I mean, it was great. I mean, there's lifetime of memories for these guys.
Cool. Talk about, you're not doing it all alone. Talk about some of your assistants.
Oh my gosh. I'm so blessed with my coaching staff. I love all my coaches, but I feel like my coaching staff I have right now they're just all in. I have Josh Sears, who, funny enough, I coached him when he was a freshman at Little Miami. He's been a head coach at Williamsburg, coached at Muller for a few years. He's just been phenomenal to bring on. Johnny Brennan, who is the guy that was my connection to Loveland, Colorado. Guy eats, sleeps, and dreams wrestling. He's just there. Kids gravitate to him, which is just great. I've had Dale Lawrence, was my assistant coach when I was in high school. Dale's just a great person, and blessed to have him and to be on the staff for as long as he has. And then I also currently have 2 of my former wrestlers that are on my staff, and 2 great guys, Jake Casonis and Michael Supine, who are outstanding people and are also young enough to go ahead and continue to roll with the guys on a daily basis. I mean, I've got a rock star staff. I couldn't be any more blessed. And then you go to the middle school, I have Chris Redmond, who was a head coach at Glen Estee and West Claremont, and Craig Bernan, who was the head coach at Mason. I mean, he had a legendary career there. I mean, we've got good coaches at every level. Yeah. And it certainly makes my job easier, and I certainly don't take that for granted. Well,
you got with Michael Supine when pre-med, if anybody gets hurt,
right
there on the mat, right? I know both Jake and Michael through my older kids, so I didn't realize they were both coaching for you. That is so cool. So the season's winding down, so talk a little bit about some of the success this season with both the boys and the girls.
Sure. So I'll start with the boys. Caleb Heilman, who's really put together quite a 4-year career. This year alone, he's broken our career wins record. He's right now sitting at 149 wins, about to hit that eclipse of 150 wins, which I think is like the equivalent of scoring 2,000 points in a basketball career. It just doesn't happen that often. Yeah. And we wrestle, I feel, a very demanding schedule. So, kudos to him for that. He also broke our pens record. He also broke our points record. Those are 2 records that were held by some pretty amazing athletes, like Gunnar Gamble held 2 of those. And then pen record was held by Gunnar and Seth Brennick, who was 2 guys I got to coach. They were just great wrestlers. He's had a great year. He was state qualifier last year. High expectations for him, not just to make it to state, but to get him on the podium in place. Nate Boston's had a great year. Nick Dent has had a great year, placed up at Maumee Bay. These guys all have 34 wins right now. Another freshman, Randy Madison's had a great year. He's wrestling 215 as a freshman. It's like 28-8, wrestling at a pretty tough weight where you're wrestling mostly older kids. And then Eric Earl, who's just probably my hardest worker. He went from last year being a 500 record to he's got 31 wins this year. Wow. So super proud of him. It's a testament to how hard he works. So he's just a dude. I call him my dude. So, when I need points or in a duel, I'm like, guys got to take care of business. They go out there and take care of business. So those guys really stand out.
And then with the season wrapping up and the ECC tournament, talk a little bit about the ECC, some of the top schools, sure, and how you expect to finish.
Yeah, so, Lebanon has been on a great run since they came into the ECC. Coach of theirs done a great job. They've won, since they've been in the ECC, they've won the last 4 or 5. I've lost count, it's frustrating. They've put together a great team. I mean, they were one of the top, not only top teams in the ECC, but for the last 2 years, one of the top teams in Southwest Ohio. So they've had a great run. I feel like this year we can challenge them. Little Miami has also put together a pretty good team. So hopefully, I think it's going to come down to Lebanon, Little Miami, and Loveland, to push it through that league title. So should be a dogfight.
Awesome. Well, it's been great sitting down and talking to you. Thanks for giving me a couple minutes here before you get to head home and see the family.
Thank you.
Anything else you want to add that we missed?
No, I don't think so. I will say, with the girls' side, we had Elizabeth Madison, who we just got back, who had an injury earlier in the year. So we're excited to get her back. She's got a pretty unique opportunity. She's already won 2 state titles, and her freshman year was the first year HSA sanctioned wrestling for the girls. So she's on track to possibly be the first 4-time girls state champion. So
that's pretty
that'd be a cool thing to be able to push her through on that.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much, Coach, for joining. And more importantly, thanks for what you do for the students, the boys, and the girls.
Thank you.
And our whole community, man, because I know I see you around volunteering, helping out, doing everything. And best of luck coming up in the ECC tournament.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
This episode is sponsored by Cappy's Wine and Spirits in downtown Loveland. Tap room, bottle shop, meeting place, great music, gift ideas, and just a traditional watering hole. Visit Cappy's for all your needs as spring is around the corner. We hope you enjoyed this podcast with Coach Switzer, and we're always looking for other ideas and share great sports stories, so please send any ideas to me at lovelandallsports@gmail.com. Peace.